So we move on to another problem. This is LeetCode 1069 Product Sales Analysis Part 2. So I just looked at the question and the tables remain the same as Product Sales Analysis Part 1. So we have a sales table. This table gives us the different sales, right? Every sale has one record. So sale ID and the year, these are the primary keys of the table. There is a product ID associated with every sale. So when you're selling something, you're basically selling a product, and then you have a quantity and a price for that particular sale. Now moving on to product table, this gives more description for the product. For example, if for every product ID, you have a product name. Okay. So that's what the question is, or whatever the given data we have. Now let's move on to what this problem wants us to do. So we need to write an SQL query that reports the total quantity sold for every product ID. And we can return the resulting table in any order, so order is not an issue. Okay, so we also have some examples given over here. For example, let's break this down, right? Total quantity sold for every product ID. So for example, you have product ID 100 which was involved in two sales, right? So you have a quantity 10 and you have a quantity 12. Addition of this makes it 22. So product 100 would have quantity 22 and product 200 would have quantity 15. And if you look at the output, that is exactly what is being expected out here. So now that we have understood the question, let's move on and try to solve this. Like, how would we solution this? Again, since we have data in two separate tables, obviously our first step would be, and let me just write it down, would be join the two tables. Okay. Since the second table has just product details, and sales is a primary table, so I would take sales table on the left side and take a left join on product table, keeping product table on the right hand side. Okay. Now, second thing, what do we need out of this, right? So we need the total quantity for every product ID. Now this is a key word over here. So when it says every product ID, we need to group by the data in these two tables by product ID. Okay, and then we want the total quantity. So since we have a grouped by data for every product, we need to aggregate it, right? I mean, to find out total quantity, you'd obviously have to aggregate quantity. So what I would do is take a sum of quantity, right, and return it as total quantity. So I'll just copy paste that here. Okay. Now let me put this down into code. So I will do select. I need to select certain columns. Okay. From, and this is important. I'll join the two tables as I mentioned in point number 1. So this would be a left join, sales table, left join, product table, alias P. How would I join it? On product ID. So product ID is a common column in these two tables, right? So s dot product ID equals p dot product ID. And now let's see what do we have to select. So we need product ID definitely, right? So I could just take p dot product ID. It's important to give a reference of the column here so that you don't end up with ambiguous column runtime errors. And the second would be if we want the sum of the quantity, and this column should be called total quantity. Okay, And since we have an aggregate function, we need to group by this entire data. So I'll group this by product ID. Let's run this query and see. You have a runtime error. Okay, let's debug this. Oh, it's a typo. I simply missed the most important keyword over here. Let's run it again. Accept it. That's great. Submit the query. And that's success.